This is the Reporter's Notebook, hosted by Elaine Shane.
Welcome to this entry in the DTN Reporter's Notebook. DTN Markets Editor Katie Misick joins us today. We're looking at some of the results that came from the DTN, the Progressive Farmer Agricultural Confidence Index. What it is we looked at what are some of the survey results from 500 producers that produce crops and livestock. Now, what are the results this time? What makes them so unique?
Well, the overall results, the number was 108.5, which is a cautiously optimistic number. A baseline of 100 is neutral. Numbers higher are positive, and numbers lower are viewed as pessimistic or negative. And so that's an interesting number right now. But what's really interesting is when you break it apart, we divide it into the present situation and the expectations for the next 12 months. And the present situation came in at 140.2, while expectations were at a very pessimistic 87.4. So what that shows is that there's this big discrepancy between how farmers are feeling right now and what they think they're going to be feeling a year from now.
Now, how does this compare, this pre-planting survey versus at harvest time?
Well, we saw that the gap between their present situation and their expectations widened. In December, when we surveyed them after harvest was in the bin, they had said their current situation was 133.5. I would say that went up a little bit because some farmers started selling that old crop corn at some really strong prices or holding it out for the summer, and they're thinking they're pretty good right now. But their number for expectations was 94.1, so we saw it get higher in the present and lower on the expectations.
What are some of the other things you heard on why there's these changes in attitude?
Well, it's been an incredible year for farmers. I spoke with Jim Gill, who is a farmer in Bloomington, Illinois, and also a market consultant, and he said their Century Farm had its best year of profitability ever. It's going to be another good year next year, but he remembers the farm crash of the 70s and 80s, and it's really hard to keep expectations so high when they've been so low for a while. Add on to that farmers are looking at the prices out there, and the new crop corn is about $1 lower than what the old crop corn is selling for. So they're doing some math and saying we're not going to make as much money right away. They're also looking at input prices, and they know that input prices tend to follow the price of commodities, but tend to not drop off as fast as commodity prices do. So they're looking at next year and saying we could be in for a real squeeze. And if they're cash renting a lot of their land, that's even more so.
Now, sometimes we see differences between the crop producers and livestock producers. Did you see any of that in the survey?
Not this year, and that's what's really a unique factor of it, not this one. There was really like a 1.9 difference in it. And so that's, it's been a good spring for both. Farmers are able to get in their fields, ranchers are able to calve. So it's one of the anomalies of this index.
Another one where we sometimes see a difference is regional differences. Was there any of that?
No, not this time. It was fairly homogeneous all the way across. Everyone felt fairly good in this current year and not as good about the next year.
And it probably helped to have rain in some of those drought areas that we might have seen some changes in the past.
Absolutely. David Duprell down in Greenville, Mississippi, was one of those where last year the drought really hurt his soybean crop, and he collected crop insurance for the first time. And he's looking ahead at this year and saying, what am I going to plant? And he usually does soybeans and rice. And he's looking at the market for rice and saying domestic demand is down and global buyers are going to Asia. So he's probably going to plant more soybeans, and he's only 3 weeks away and hasn't fully made that decision. He's also really, really worried about his input costs. Because he's down in the Delta, they do a lot of irrigation, and he said he bought a tank load of diesel in January for $3.14, and right now it's going for over $4, and his supplier expects it to jump to $5. So that's really something that's putting a pressure on farmers this year.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you, Elaine.
With Katie Misick, I'm Elaine Shane, and that's today's entry in the DTN Reporter's Notebook. You can see more results from the index and the methodology by going to the URL on the screen right now. Thanks for joining us, and have a good day from DTN.
This has been the Reporter's Notebook from the DTN Progressive Farmer Newsroom.